is responsible for filing the real estate report? The agent is not the primary filer, but that does not mean you are removed. One of the most important clarifications in this entire course is this. In most transactions, the real estate agent is not the person filing the FinCEN real estate report. That responsibility generally falls on the professional performing the settlement function. In practice, this typically includes settlement agents, escrow agents, title insurance companies, or real estate attorneys conducting the closing. The federal rule assigns reporting responsibility to the professional who controls the settlement and disbursement process. However, not being the filer does not mean you are disconnected from the process. Arizona agents remain actively involved in structuring the transaction, communicating with the buyer, coordinating with escrow, and representing the brokerage. Awareness is mandatory, even if filing is not. Professional ignorance is not a shield. Why settlement? Professionals are the filers. Settlement agents are positioned at the precise point in the transaction where reporting logically occurs. They receive funds, verify entity formation documents, confirm buyer identity, manage disbursement, and prepare the final closing statements. Because they control the execution of the transaction, they are best positioned to submit the real estate report to FinCEN. This reporting obligation functions similarly to how title companies handled geographic targeting order reporting in prior years. The party controlling settlement logistics is the logical reporting party. What happens if multiple professionals are involved? Some Arizona transactions may involve multiple closing professionals. There may be an attorney conducting settlement, a title company issuing the policy, and a third-party escrow company managing funds. In these situations, the federal rule establishes a reporting hierarchy so that one designated party assumes filing responsibility. Those professionals will coordinate to determine who collects beneficial ownership information and who submits the report. Arizona agents should not attempt to interpret or assign reporting hierarchy themselves. Early communication with escrow is the correct approach. The Arizona agent's proper role. Your role is proactive but limited. You should identify early whether the buyer is purchasing through a legal entity. You should recognize whether financing is institutional or private. You should notify settlement professionals if the transaction structure appears to fall within reporting triggers. You should prepare the client for the possibility of additional documentation requests. What you must not do is provide legal advice or attempt to interpret federal filing mechanics. A professional example of appropriate communication would be, because the buyer is purchasing through an entity without traditional bank financing, escrow may need additional documentation under federal reporting rules. That language is calm, anticipatory, and compliant. What if the buyer refuses to provide information? This is where transactions can stall. If a buyer refuses to provide required beneficial ownership information, the settlement professional may be unable to complete the filing. If the filing cannot be completed, the closing may not proceed. Agents must never encourage closing without compliance. You must not suggest bypassing reporting requirements. You must not pressure escrow to ignore federal obligations. Doing so could create exposure under ARS, paragraph 32-2153, which governs dishonest dealings, and potentially under federal aiding and abetting statutes, such as 18 U.S.C. Paragraph 2. While enforcement will primarily target intentional misconduct, professional distance from noncompliance is critical. Protect your license first. Broker. Supervision and filing awareness. Under AAC, R428-1103, designated brokers have supervision responsibilities. Reasonable supervision includes ensuring agents understand that they are not the filer, that they must not misrepresent reporting obligations, and that questions should be escalated appropriately. Brokerages that regularly handle investor transactions should implement written guidance, conduct training sessions, and incorporate entity purchase review steps into transaction checklists. A compliance culture reduces confusion and risk. What this section clarifies: you are not a federal reporting officer. You are not required to submit real estate reports. but you are expected to understand when reporting may apply and to coordinate professionally with settlement agents. Ignorance creates friction. Awareness creates smooth closings. Professional awareness is now part of competent Arizona practice. Transition to Section 4.2. Now that we understand who is responsible for filing the report, the next question becomes timing. When must the report be filed? What deadlines apply? What happens if filing occurs late? Timing errors can create penalties and potentially delay closings. That is our next focus.